I want to start with something that, honestly, it just stopped me in my tracks when I was reading through the research for today.
Oh, yeah.
It's this scene from a church service, a Thanksgiving service of all things. The priest asks people to share what they're grateful for, standard stuff.
Sure. Turkey, family, health.
Exactly. But then this woman stands up, and the text notes she'd been diagnosed with cancer about a year before this.
Okay.
And she looks around the room and just says, quote, "I'm thankful for my cancer."
Wow. That is definitely not the standard answer.
Right. And she wasn't being ironic. She said, "I'm thankful for my cancer because it has made me appreciate everything in life, even the smallest things I would always take for granted."
That is such a profound place to start, and it immediately sets the stage for what we're doing here today.
It really does.
We are not talking about the turkey and stuffing, warm and fuzzy version of gratitude.
The greeting card version.
Exactly. We're looking at something much deeper.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of sources here, Greek, Orthodox, Coptic, Catholic writings, and they all describe something much more intense. One source calls it radical gratitude.
And another, the attitude of gratitude. But the core idea is identical across all of them. Gratitude isn't a feeling that just happens to you. It's a discipline.
A rigorous, sometimes incredibly difficult discipline.
It's interesting you use that word discipline, because if you look at the material, especially from the Eastern traditions, they treat gratitude almost like a martial art, or maybe even a medical treatment.
Medical treatment, like you take a pill for it.
In a sense, yeah. One of the sources we have from the Diocese of San Angelo, it explicitly calls gratitude a spiritual medicine.
An antidote.
An antidote to very specific toxins: self-pity, envy, resentment, and pride.
That makes a lot of sense logically. I mean, it's hard to be envious of your neighbor's new car if you're genuinely, deeply grateful for your own 2 feet that can walk you to the bus stop.
Precisely. But the problem, and the sources are all very clear on this, is that the medicine is hard for us to take. We suffer from a very specific condition.
Which they call?
Abundance blindness.
Right, abundance blindness. I saw that term. This is where that story about the Albanian immigrants comes in, isn't it?
Yes. It's a perfect illustration.
You should set the scene for us, because I think most of us have been in this exact situation 1,000 times and just felt nothing.
Okay, so picture this. You have people who have just come from a post-communist regime. This is the 90s. They're used to shortages being the norm, bread lines, empty shelves, that kind of thing.
Oh, scarcity.
Total scarcity. And they come to the United States, and for the first time, they walk into a standard fluorescent-lit American supermarket.
Just a regular Tuesday for us.
For us, yes. But for them, the source says they froze. They were physically paralyzed. Some of them literally wept at the sight of the produce aisle.
Just seeing apples and oranges.
So many kinds of apples and oranges. All the variety, the abundance. To them, it was an absolute miracle.
And to us, it's just, they're out of the organic kale.
Right. We walk in, grab what we need, and complain that the checkout line is too long. That is abundance blindness.
The miracle is there. We just can't see it anymore.
We've become immune to it.
So the whole mission of this deep dive, then, is to figure out how to see the supermarket, like they did, to move from those polite, automatic thank yous to what one source calls a cycle of spiritual fruitfulness.
And that shift takes work. It's about moving from gratitude as a mood, which, comes and goes, to gratitude as a conscious choice.
Let's dig into that idea, gratitude as a choice, because the sources are pretty blunt. They say we are not born grateful.
Oh, no, we are certainly not. It has to be taught. One of the articles uses a great example of this. It calls it the Aunt Mildred scenario.
I love this.
Yeah.
I have absolutely been this kid.
We all have. So Aunt Mildred brings out a tray of cookies. The kids naturally just rush forward, grabbing.
And the parents, hovering in nearby, do that thing. They say, "Now, what do you say?"
And then you get that robotic monotone chant. "Thank you, Aunt Mildred."
While shoving cookies into their mouths. But is that gratitude? I mean, they said the word.
The source argues emphatically, no, that is compliance. That's just social greasing to get the cookie.
It's a transaction.
It's a transaction. True gratitude, the discipline we're talking about, is a matter of duty and honor. It's recognizing the giver, not just the gift.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Because I feel like I'm the kid with the cookie half the time.
Yeah.
I'm happy I have the cookie, but I'm not always contemplating the generosity of Aunt Mildred.
Well, the sources actually break this down into a really practical framework. They split the discipline into 3 levels: tactical, daily, and strategic.
Tactical. That sounds like military gratitude.
In a way, it is. Tactical gratitude is what you use in the heat of the moment. It's a defense.
So when you're tempted to be angry or you're discouraged or you're about to snap at someone,
You stop and you ask the question, how can I prove to God I am grateful right now?
so instead of spiraling into, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
You use gratitude to just disrupt the loop.
Exactly. It breaks the momentum. Then you have the daily level. This one's about memory and recollection.
This one seemed more manageable. The source suggests taking just 5 minutes to review the last 24 hours.
Right. And you're not just, listing things like a grocery list.
Yeah.
You're trying to be astounded by the fact that you made it through another day.
That you had food. That you talked to a friend.
A review of mercies received, as they put it.
And then there's strategic. This is the long game.
Mhm.
And this is where it got a little intimidating for me.
How so?
Well, it talks about planning, like
Yeah.
actually planning out your stewardship of the gifts you've received.
Think of it like a budget. If you are grateful for your mind, you don't just say thanks for my brain. You make a list of the books you're going to read to feed it.
Oh, I see. So it's active gratitude.
It's active. If you're grateful for your faith, you plan your commitments. It's about not letting the gift go to waste.
This reminds me of another concept that was in the stack, the idea of a trellis.
Ah, yes, the rule of life, from the Latin word regula.
Now, when I hear rule, I think of a speed limit. Don't walk on the grass. Something restrictive.
And the source says that's the wrong way to look at it. Don't think of a rule like a law. Think of a ruler, a straight edge, something that keeps you aligned.
Or the garden analogy they used. A rule of life is like a trellis for a vine.
Exactly, because without that trellis, what does a vine do?
It just flops over on the ground.
It crawls on the ground, it gets rot, it gets stepped on, it can't reach the sunlight.
So gratitude is like one of the slats in that trellis.
It provides the structure that helps us abide and grow instead of just reacting to life.
And if we don't have that trellis, that structure,
Then we can fall into what one source calls the cycle of spiritual emptiness.
right? These are the two cycles, the cycle of fruitfulness and the cycle of emptiness.
And they're both self-reinforcing loops.
Okay, walk us through the good one first.
The cycle of spiritual fruitfulness starts with trust. Trust through prayer. That leads to gratitude. You start noticing the gifts,
And then that gratitude opens your heart.
which makes you capable of more love.
Yeah.
So trust, gratitude, openness, love, it builds on itself.
And the bad one, the empty one.
It starts with distrust, a lack of connection. That leads to negativity. You only see what you don't have.
Which closes the heart.
And a closed heart is capable of less love. It's a downward spiral.
It's really hard to stay in that fruitful cycle. I mean, most of the time, I'm just annoyed my coffee got cold or that the Wi-Fi is slow. Why is it so hard to just be grateful?
Well, the sources point to a very specific root cause. And it isn't the cold coffee, it's entitlement.
Entitlement.
We feel we deserve hot coffee. We
Ugh.
feel we deserve the next breath we take. We deserve for the traffic to move.
Okay, that definitely hits home. So how do we break that cycle of entitlement?
One of the sources suggests the ultimate entitlement breaker. And I should warn you, it's a bit morbid.
Lay it on me.
You have to remember that you are going to die.
Whoa. Okay. We went from cold coffee to the grave pretty quickly there.
I know it sounds dark, but St. John Climacus, a major figure in this tradition, he places the remembrance of death as the sixth rung on his ladder of divine ascent.
So it's a foundational step.
He argues that entitlement simply cannot survive in the face of your own mortality.
Because if you're dead, you don't have coffee at all, cold or hot.
Precisely. If you think you are going to live forever, you think you deserve everything you have. But if you remember that your life is a temporary loan, suddenly even cold coffee is a bonus.
The sources bring up the parable of the rich fool here. This is the guy who has a huge harvest, right?
A bumper crop. He has so much grain he runs out of space, so he says, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. He's planning for his retirement.
And God's response in the story is not subtle.
You fool, this very night your soul will be required of you. See, the mistake wasn't being rich. The mistake was acting like he had infinite time to hoard it.
It reframes everything. If life is a borrowed gift, as one source puts it, you can't be entitled to it. You can only be grateful you have it for this one moment.
And then actually leads to the next question. If you can't keep it, what do you do with it?
You give it away.
Exactly.
And this brings us to that section on reverse stewardship. There's a formula here that says you cannot be grateful and hoard at the same time.
St. Basil the Great has this stinging quote about it. He says to the rich man, if you want storehouses, you have them in the stomachs of the poor.
Wow. That is a visual. The stomachs of the poor are your storehouses.
It means the only way to keep your wealth spiritually speaking, is to give it away physically.
And speaking of giving it away, I have to share this story from the Saints Constantine and Helen Church. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
The $30,000 experiment.
Oh, this is a fantastic example. It's really putting your money where your mouth is.
So on Stewardship Sunday, the church usually asks for money, right? They pass the plate.
Right, they ask for pledges.
But this one time, the priest completely flipped the script. He didn't ask for a single thing.
No, he did the exact opposite.
The church gave $30,000 to the parishioners. They handed out envelopes with cash inside. $300, $200, or $100.
Can you imagine? You're sitting in the queue expecting to be asked for a donation, and instead someone hands you $100.
And the only instruction was, go use this to bless others. Go glorify God with this.
It forces the discipline we were talking about earlier. You've received this gift. Now, tactically, strategically, what are you going to do with it?
You can't just keep it. It changes the entire psychology from obligation to opportunity.
It really illustrates how gratitude is meant to flow into generosity. And one of the sources points out that this flow, this rhythm of receiving and giving back, is actually the core mechanic of the Eucharist.
It is. This was fascinating. We think of the Eucharist as just a church ritual, but the word itself, Eucharistia in Greek.
It literally means thanksgiving.
So the central ritual of the faith is literally called the ritual of giving thanks.
Exactly. And look at the mechanism. First, you receive the raw materials from the earth wheat, grapes, that's the initial gift.
Okay.
Second, humans have to apply work. We bake the bread, we crush the grapes, we transform what we were given.
Amen.
Then we don't just consume it, we offer it back. We bring it to the altar to be transformed into something higher, which is then given back to us again.
It's a constant exchange. Give, receive, transform, give back.
Which is exactly why hoarding breaks the cycle. If you hoard the wheat, it rots. Gratitude has to be a pass-through, not a dead end.
Okay, I want to pivot to the hard stuff. Because it's one thing to be grateful when the church is handing you cash. But what about when it's not? What about the woman with cancer?
This is the radical part of radical gratitude.
Yeah, the sources quote St. Paul, give thanks in all circumstances. Not for all circumstances, but in them.
And this is where we have to be so careful not to sound glib. The sources are not saying you should enjoy suffering. The woman with cancer isn't saying, yay, cancer is fun.
So what is she saying?
She's saying that the suffering is producing something valuable. It's producing steadfastness. It's stripping away the trivial stuff. The perspective shift is trusting that nothing, not even pain, can separate you from the ultimate meaning of your life.
So gratitude in suffering is almost an act of defiance. You're defying despair.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's an assertion of trust when the evidence looks bad.
To make this practical, because this can get really heavy, the Diocese of San Angelo source put together a list. And I have to be honest, looking at this list, number one seems impossible.
Let me guess. The traffic ticket.
Yes. It says when you get a speeding ticket, thank the officer for keeping society safe. I mean, come on. In that moment, I am not thinking about society.
Oh, absolutely not. It sounds ridiculous. But think about the alternative.
Being furious. Cursing the cop under my breath.
Being a victim. The source argues that by thanking the officer, you reclaim your agency. You stop being the victim of the mean cop and start being a citizen participating in a system.
Huh. So it's a mind hack. You're flipping the script so you don't feel powerless.
Exactly.
Okay, here's another one. When you hear a crying baby in church or on a plane, instead of being annoyed, be thankful for the gift of new life.
That changes the frame from noise pollution to the future generation.
Or when you lose a game, thank God for the lesson in humility.
Ouch. Necessary, but ouch.
And a simple one. When you drink a glass of water, remember those who don't have it.
That goes right back to the Albanian supermarket. It's piercing that veil of normalcy to see the blessing underneath.
It really feels like this whole thing, radical gratitude, is about waking up.
It is, waking up from the sleepwalking of entitlement.
There's a fable in the sources that I think just sums this all up perfectly. The tale of two angels.
Yes.
With the baskets.
So 2 angels are sent to Earth. They each have a basket. They spend the day wandering around, and then they return to heaven.
And one angel is just struggling. His basket is overflowing. It's so heavy he can barely carry it. The other angel's basket is light, almost empty. So he asks the first angel, what do you have in there?
And the angel with the heavy basket says, I was sent to collect all the petitions, all the, I want this, please give me that, I need this.
Then he looks at the nearly empty basket and asks, what were you sent to collect?
And the second angel says, I was sent to collect the prayers of thanksgiving.
That one hits home. It's a picture of a world that is constantly asking and rarely appreciating.
And the commentary on this fable is that the heavy basket represents a spiritual illness, the weight of our wants. Gratitude is the antidote that lightens the load.
So what does this all mean for us right now? We aren't monks. How do we start this discipline today without feeling overwhelmed by it all?
The sources give us a very specific and I think very powerful morning challenge.
Okay, let's hear it.
Before you even get out of bed, before your phone, before your feet hit the floor, you make the sign of the cross, or you just pause for a moment and you thank God for 5 things.
5 things. That sounds easy enough. My bed, my house, my family.
Stop right there. Here's the catch. They have to be 5 new things.
Oh.
You can't just recycle the same list every day. You have to find 5 new, specific things from the last 24 hours.
Oh, that makes it much harder. That forces you to actually pay attention during the day. You have to hunt for them.
Exactly. It trains your brain to scan your world for blessings instead of problems. It starts building that trellis we talked about.
So that's the challenge for you, the listener. Don't wait for a holiday. Don't wait for the turkey. Start the discipline. Wake up tomorrow, find 5 new things, maybe even the traffic ticket if you're feeling ambitious, and see if it doesn't change the way you see your own personal supermarket.
And remember, if you can't find 5, you can always start with the simple fact that you woke up at all.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into radical gratitude. We will see you next time.